Be me, Rebecca, 34, running a marketing consultancy in the downtown business district for 5 years now. Built this company from nothing after leaving my corporate job where I watched mediocre men get promoted over talented women again and again. Started with just me and 2 contractors, now have 15 full-time employees. Every single one of them a woman, and I'm not ashamed to say that was intentional. Walk into my office Monday morning feeling like the world is finally catching up to my vision. My assistant Emma looks nervous when I pass her desk. Rebecca, your lawyer called 3 times already this morning. Feel my stomach drop, but keep my expression neutral. I'll call Martin back in a few minutes. Close my office door and sit at my desk, staring at the framed photo of our all-female team at last year's holiday party. We looked so powerful, so united, proof that women didn't need men to build something successful. Finally, pick up the phone and call Martin. Rebecca, we need to meet today. This situation is escalating faster than I anticipated. His voice has that tight quality that means bad news. How bad are we talking? 4 separate complaints have now been consolidated into 2 class action lawsuits. The plaintiff attorneys are very organized and they have documentation I didn't know existed. Feel heat rising in my chest. That familiar anger that fueled me through every obstacle I'd faced. Documentation of what? Running my business the way I see fit? Martin sighs, and I can picture him rubbing his temples. Documentation of you explicitly stating in emails and recorded interviews that you wouldn't hire men under any circumstances. Rebecca, I warned you 2 years ago when you did that interview with the business magazine. Remember that interview clearly. Remember feeling so proud to finally say what I'd been thinking for years. Told the reporter that my company was proof that male leadership was overrated, that I'd built something better by excluding the gender that had excluded us for centuries. I was making a point about systemic inequality, Martin. Context matters. Not an employment discrimination law, it doesn't. The EEOC doesn't care about your philosophical position. You rejected over 100 qualified applicants explicitly because they were men. Hang up after agreeing to meet him at his office at 2. Sit there feeling my carefully constructed world starting to crack. Spend the next hour looking through my hiring files. Something my lawyer told me to stop doing, but I can't help myself. Find the application from Daniel, submitted 3 years ago. His resume was actually impressive. 10 years of experience in digital marketing, portfolio of successful campaigns for major clients. Remember his interview request email, professional and courteous. My response was brief. Thank you for your interest, but we're pursuing other candidates at this time. What I didn't put in the email was what I'd written in my notes, qualified but male, doesn't fit company culture. Find similar notes on dozens of applications from men. Each rejection felt like a small victory at the time, another brick in the wall I was building. My phone buzzes with an email from an unknown address. Subject line, meeting request regarding legal action. It's from someone named Tucker, one of the plaintiffs my lawyer mentioned. Ms. Rebecca, I'd like to request a meeting to discuss this matter before it proceeds further. I think we should talk face to face about what happened and why this has escalated to legal action. Would you be willing to meet with myself and 2 other plaintiffs at a neutral location? My first instinct is to delete it and forward to Martin, but something makes me hesitate. Maybe it's curiosity. Maybe it's the part of me that still believes I can explain my position and make them understand. Against my better judgment, I respond, I'll meet with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. at the Cert Mars coffee shop on 5th and Madison. Immediately forward the exchange to Martin, who calls within minutes. Rebecca, absolutely not. Do not meet with these men without me present. Anything you say can and will be used against you. I need to face this, Martin. I need them to hear my side. Your side is legally indefensible. You discriminated based on gender. That's not a matter of perspective. 1 meeting. I'll be careful. He tries to argue, but eventually gives up, insisting he'll be there. Spend the rest of the day distracted, reviewing campaign proposals from my team without really seeing them. Jessica, my creative director, knocks on my door around 4. Rebecca, can we talk? The team is worried. Gesture for her to sit. She's been with me since year 1, believed in my vision from the start. Everyone's heard rumors about lawsuits, about discrimination claims. Is it true? Meet her eyes and see genuine concern there, mixed with something else. Doubt, maybe. Some men I didn't hire are upset. They're claiming I discriminated against them. No, did you? The question catches me off guard. Jessica has always been my most loyal ally, never questioned my leadership. I built this company to be a space where women could thrive without male egos dominating every conversation. That was always the mission. That's not what I asked. Stare at her for a long moment. I hired the best people for our culture, all of whom happen to be women. She nods slowly, but I can see she's not convinced. The team is scared, Rebecca. If this company goes under, we all lose our jobs. Whatever point you were trying to make, was it worth that? Feel anger flashing through me. You, of all people, should understand. You were stuck in that corporate hellhole before I hired you, watching less qualified men get the opportunities you deserved. I was, and I'm grateful you gave me a chance. But Rebecca, some of those applicants we rejected, I reviewed a few of their portfolios when I was helping with hiring last year. Some of them were really good. Whose side are you on? Regret the words as soon as they leave my mouth. Jessica stands up, her expression hardening. I'm on the side of keeping my job and feeding my family. I'm not sure you're thinking about what this means for the rest of us. She leaves without another word. Sit alone in my office as the sky outside darkens. Drive home to my apartment, pour a glass of wine, sit on my couch, staring at nothing. Think about the early days, when it was just me fighting to prove something. Every rejection letter I'd received when I was younger, every meeting where men talked over me, every promotion that went to someone less qualified. Building this company was supposed to be my answer to all of that, proof that we didn't need them, that we were better off without them. Fall asleep on the couch, still in my work clothes. Wake up Tuesday morning with a headache and sense of dread. Shower, dress. Carefully in my navy suit, armor for the confrontation ahead. Arrive at the coffee shop 15 minutes early. Martin is already there, looking grim. Last chance to cancel this, Rebecca. I need to do this. At exactly 10, 3 men walk in together. Spot them immediately. They have that look of people preparing for battle. One is tall and black, probably early 40s, well dressed in business casual. Another is shorter, maybe late 30s, with tired eyes and a rumpled blazer. The third is younger, couldn't be more than 30, with the kind of sharp focus that suggests barely contained anger. They approach our table, and the tall one extends his hand to Martin first. Tucker, we spoke on the phone. Martin shakes it professionally, then Tucker turns to me. Hesitate for just a second before shaking his hand. His grip is firm, but not aggressive. The other two introduce themselves as Daniel and Keith. Daniel is the shorter one, Keith the young angry one. We all sit, and there's a moment of tense silence. Tucker speaks first, his voice controlled, but with an edge. Ms. Rebecca, thank you for agreeing to meet. I want to start by explaining why we're here, why this has gone as far as it has. Nod, staying silent, feeling Martin's warning presence beside me. 3 years ago, I applied for a senior strategist position at your company. I had 15 years of experience, a track record of successful campaigns, references from industry leaders. I didn't even get an interview. I got a form rejection. I receive hundreds of applications. I start, but Tucker holds up a hand. Let me finish. At first, I assumed maybe my application got lost in the shuffle, or someone else was just a better fit. But then I started noticing a pattern. Your company was in the news a lot, articles about your all-female team, interviews where you talked about your hiring philosophy. Feel my jaw tightening. Daniel leans forward, and I can see the exhaustion in his expression. I applied twice, once 2 years ago, once last year. Both times I was more than qualified for the positions. Both times I was rejected within a day of applying. So I did some research, pulls out his phone and starts reading from notes. In an interview with the Greater Metro Business Journal, you said, and I quote, "Men have had their chance to run things, and look where it's gotten us. My company proves that we don't need male leadership, male innovation, or male perspective. We're better without them." Remember saying those words. Remember feeling powerful and vindicated. That was taken out of context. I begin. Was it? Keith interrupts, his voice sharp with anger. He's the youngest, but somehow the most intimidating, vibrating with fury. Because in the podcast interview you did 6 months later, you said, "I don't hire men, period. That's not discrimination, that's correction. That's balancing centuries of oppression." Nice. Martin puts a subtle hand on my arm, a warning. But I can't help myself, feel words rising. You don't understand what it's like to be systematically excluded from opportunities because of your gender. To watch less qualified people succeed because they fit a certain demographic profile. I built my company to discriminate, Tucker says flatly, his controlled demeanor cracking slightly. To create a space where... To discriminate, he repeats. You don't get to decide that your discrimination is justified because you think you're correcting historical wrongs. That's not how the law works. That's not how ethics work. Now, feel my face flushing. I hired the most qualified candidates, who all happen to be women, Daniel interrupts. Every single one, over 5 years. Hundreds of applications from men, many of them more qualified than the women you hired, and not one single man ever made the cut. What are the statistical odds of that, Rebecca? He says my name like an accusation. My company, my vision. Keith slams his hand on the table, making the coffee cups rattle. Several people in the shop turn to look. "You're illegal discrimination!" he shouts, voice cracking with rage. Do you have any idea what it's like to be rejected because of something you can't control? To be told that no matter how hard you work, how qualified you are, you'll never even be considered because of your gender? Martin tries to intervene. "Gentlemen, let's keep this civil." Civil! Keith's laugh is bitter. I was civil when I applied for a junior position at her company. A junior position. I had the exact experience listed in the job description. I had a portfolio that matched every requirement. I wrote a thoughtful cover letter. And you know what I got? An automated rejection email the same day I applied. He's standing now, leaning over the table, eyes blazing. I was graduating with student loans I'm still drowning in. I applied to 40 companies that month. Yours was the only one that rejected me without even a phone screening, so I called to ask for feedback. You know what your assistant told me? Feel my heart pounding. She said, and I recorded this call, "We're focused on building a diverse team of women in marketing. Just women. No men need apply, apparently." Sink back in my chair slightly. Tucker's voice cuts through, colder now. "I have a daughter, Rebecca. She's 12. You want to know what I tell her about fairness and equality? How do I explain to her that discrimination is wrong when people like you practice it openly and call it justice?" "That's not fair." What's not fair?" Daniel's voice is rising now too. "What's not fair is that I got laid off during the recession, struggled for 8 months to find work, finally saw your job posting that matched my skills perfectly, and got rejected because I have a Y chromosome. What's not fair is that I had to explain to my wife why I couldn't get an interview at a company where I was objectively qualified." His voice breaks, slightly. "What's not fair is that I started doubting myself, wondering if I was really as good as I thought I was, if maybe I deserved to be unemployed, until I realized it had nothing to do with my qualifications and everything to do with your prejudice." "It's not prejudice when what?" Tucker interrupts. "When it's against men? When you decide that one group deserves to be excluded because you think they've had advantages? Rebecca, I'm a black man in America. Don't lecture me about systemic disadvantages. But you know what I don't do? I don't discriminate against white people in revenge. I don't exclude people from opportunities because of their race or gender, because that's wrong. It's always wrong." Feel tears starting to sting my eyes, but I'm not sure if they're from shame or anger. "You don't understand the bigger picture." "The bigger picture?" Keith is pacing now, hands shaking. "Let me tell you about the bigger picture. After you rejected me, I spent 6 more months unemployed. I lost my apartment. I had to move back in with my parents at 27 years old. I fell into depression. I started therapy, all while watching your company get praised in business magazines for your innovative approach to gender equality." He stops, faces me directly. "Your innovative approach destroyed 6 months of my life. And for what? To make a political statement? To prove some ideological point?" Martin tries again. "I think we should—" "No," Tucker says firmly. "She needs to hear this. All of it. Because I don't think she understands what she's done." Turns his full attention to me. "I've worked in marketing for 15 years. I've mentored young professionals, half of them women. I've advocated for pay equity. I've called out sexism in meetings. I've tried to be part of the solution. And then people like you come along and use legitimate grievances about gender discrimination to justify gender discrimination." His voice is shaking with controlled fury. "You've set back actual progress. You've given ammunition to every man who claims that equality movements are really about revenge. You've made it harder for women who face real discrimination to be taken seriously. Because now there's this perfect example of a woman who admitted, proudly, to excluding men simply for being men." Daniel pulls out a folder, spreads documents across the table. "These are the applications from men your company received over 5 years. I got them through discovery. 73 applications for positions you eventually filled with women. Want to know how many of these men got interviews? 0. Want to know how many had qualifications that met or exceeded your stated requirements? 61. He's pointing at specific applications now. voice getting louder. This guy had a master's degree from a top program and 10 years of experience, rejected in one day. This guy had awards for his creative work and perfect references, rejected in 2 days. This guy was an internal referral from one of your own clients, rejected before you even reviewed his portfolio. Pick up one of the applications, hands trembling. It's from someone named Trevor, applied 2 years ago for an account manager position. His resume is genuinely impressive, exactly what we needed at the time. Remember hiring Sarah instead? She was good, but had only 3 years of experience to Trevor's 8. I was building a specific culture. Based on illegal discrimination, Keith shouts. You keep saying that like it justifies anything. You can't build a culture by excluding an entire gender. That's not progressive, that's not feminist, that's not justice. That's just discrimination with a different target. He's red in the face now, veins standing out on his neck. And you were so smug about it, so proud, giving interviews about how men weren't necessary, how your all-female team was superior, how you were showing the world what real excellence looked like. Tucker stands up, and suddenly his controlled demeanor cracks completely. Do you know what the worst part is? The absolute worst part? His voice is rising, professional facade gone. You think you're a hero. You think you're fighting the good fight. You wrapped yourself in social justice rhetoric while practicing the exact same discrimination you claim to oppose. You became the thing you say you hate. Slams his hand on the table. I fought against discrimination my whole career, my whole life. And then I get discriminated against by someone who thinks she's on the side of equality. The hypocrisy is breathtaking. Feel tears rolling down my face now, but whether from anger or something else, I can't tell. You don't know what I've been through. I don't care, Daniel shouts. Other patrons are definitely watching now, some filming on their phones. I don't care what you've been through. Your experiences don't give you the right to violate civil rights law. They don't give you a free pass to discriminate. Whatever happened to you, however you were treated, none of that justifies what you did to us. He's standing too now, 3 men around the table, all furious. Martin tries to stand between us. This meeting is over. Oh, no it's not, I say, surprising myself. No, let them finish. Let them tell me how angry they are, that for once, men didn't get exactly what they wanted. The words come out more bitter than I intended. Keith laughs, but there's no humor in it. You really believe that, don't you? You really think this is about entitlement, about us being upset that we didn't get our way? Leans in close, voice dropping to something more dangerous than shouting. This is about being judged by our gender instead of our merit. This is about being excluded from opportunities we earned. This is about watching someone break the law and claim moral superiority while doing it. If you can't see the difference, you're beyond reason. Tucker pulls out his own folder now. Let me show you what your vision cost. This is Daniel's bank statement from 3 years ago, showing his account going negative because he couldn't find work. This is Keith's medical bill from the emergency room visit when his anxiety got so bad he thought he was having a heart attack. This is my daughter's essay about her father being unemployed, which she wrote before I finally found another job. Spreads them across the table like evidence at a trial. These are the real-world consequences of your ideology. Real people, real harm. But you didn't care about that because we were men, and in your worldview, men deserve whatever they get. Voice breaking with emotion. I have spent my entire professional life fighting for fairness, for equality, for judging people by their character and capabilities, not their demographics. And you spat on everything I believe in. Wipe my eyes, trying to find words. The system is rigged against women. Then, change the system, Daniel yells. Don't just rig it the other way. Don't become the oppressor and call it liberation. You had a chance to build something actually inclusive, actually equitable, and instead you just reversed the discrimination. He's shaking with rage. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, is that you've made it harder for everyone. Harder for women who face real discrimination to be believed. Harder for men who support equality to be taken seriously. Harder for any of us to have honest conversations about these issues. You've poisoned the well, Keith adds, voice hoarse from shouting. My sister is a software engineer. She faces real sexism at her job, real discrimination, and now when she files complaints, you know what they say? They point to cases like yours. They say, see? Women discriminate too. This is all just a power grab. You've given every actual sexist the perfect ammunition. Feel something crumbling inside me. I just wanted to prove we could do it without you, that we didn't need men to succeed. Tucker sits back down, exhausted. Nobody's saying you need men to succeed, Rebecca. We're saying you can't exclude men from the opportunity to contribute. There's a difference. A huge difference. And the fact that you can't see that difference is exactly why we're suing you. His voice is quieter now, but somehow more devastating. You could have built a great company that hired based on merit, that supported women, that created inclusive culture. Instead, you built a company based on discrimination and wrapped it in progressive language. And now it's all coming down. Daniel leans forward, all the anger drained out of him, just looking tired. I don't even care about the money, honestly. I care about the principle. I care about living in a world where my son and daughter are both judged by their abilities, not their gender. Where discrimination is recognized as wrong, no matter who's doing it. Where equality means equality, not revenge. Voice soft but firm. You had power, Rebecca. You had resources, influence, a platform, and you used it to punish an entire gender for the sins of some of its members. That's not justice. That's just cruelty, dressed up in political rhetoric. Sit in silence for a long moment. Martin finally speaks. I think we should end this conversation here. Tucker nods. We've said what we came to say. Our lawyers will handle the rest. The three men stand to leave. Keith pauses, looks back at me. I hope you understand, eventually. I hope you realize that what you did was wrong. Not because we're men, because discrimination is wrong. Always. No matter who practices it or what justification they give. They walk out. Sit there with Martin, surrounded by scattered papers and cold coffee. That went about as badly as I expected, he says quietly. They're really angry. They have every right to be. You discriminated against them, Rebecca, intentionally, proudly, and they suffered real consequences. Drive back to my office in a daze. Find Emma at her desk. See the question in her eyes. How did it go? They're very angry, and they have a strong case. She nods slowly. Rebecca, the team has been talking. We're worried. About the lawsuits, about the company, about our jobs. I'm handling it. Are you? Because from where we're sitting, it looks like everything's falling apart. Go into my office, close the door. Spend the afternoon reviewing the legal documents Martin sent. The case against me is overwhelming. Emails where I explicitly stated I wouldn't hire men. Interview transcripts where I said men weren't welcome. Statistical analysis showing 0 men hired despite hundreds of qualified applications. Internal memos about maintaining our women-only culture. Financial projections showing the potential damages, $3 to $4 million. My company's total assets, maybe 800,000. Bankruptcy isn't a possibility. It's an inevitability. My phone rings. It's my mother. Rebecca, I saw something online, a video of you at a coffee shop, arguing with some men. What's happening? Realize someone must have posted the confrontation. I'm dealing with some legal issues, Mom. Legal issues? Rebecca, what did you do? Feel a sob building in my chest. I built my company the way I thought was right, and now I'm being sued for discrimination. Silence on the other end. Did you discriminate? The question hangs there. I only hired women. I thought I was making a statement about equality. Oh, Rebecca. Her voice is disappointed in a way that cuts deeper than anger. Equality doesn't mean excluding people. I didn't raise you to think that way. But men have excluded women for centuries. And that was wrong. This is also wrong. 2 wrongs don't make a right. I thought I taught you that. We talk for a few more minutes, but I can barely focus. Hang up and open my laptop. Find the video Keith mentioned. Already has 50,000 views. Watch myself in the coffee shop. See my face twisted with defensiveness. Read the comments, most of them condemning me. This is what happens when ideology trumps ethics. Discrimination is discrimination, no matter who does it. She literally admits to illegal hiring practices and thinks she's the victim. Close the laptop, feeling sick. Jessica knocks on my door. Rebecca, we need to talk. The whole team. Follow her to the conference room where my 15 employees are gathered. All women, all looking at me with varying expressions of concern and doubt. Jessica speaks for them. We've all been talking about the lawsuits, about the publicity, about what this means for the company. We're going to fight this. Rebecca, stop. Jessica's voice is firm. We need you to be honest with us. Did you refuse to hire men just because they were men? Look around the room at these women I hired, this team I built. I wanted to create a space where women could thrive without male dominance, where we could prove our worth without... That's not an answer, another employee, Maria, interrupts. Did you reject qualified men solely because they were men? The room is silent, waiting. Yes. The word feels like swallowing glass. I rejected men because I was building an all-female company. I thought I was making a statement. See the shock and disappointment ripple through the room. Some of those men were really qualified, Jessica says quietly. I saw their applications when I was helping with hiring. Some of them were more qualified than some of us. Feel defensive anger rising again. But you all deserved your chances. We did, Maria says, but so did they. Rebecca, I have a brother. He's a graphic designer. He applied here last year. You rejected him in one day without even looking at his portfolio. Stare at her in shock. You never told me. Because I was afraid you'd fire me for having a brother who dared to apply. That's how uncomfortable you made everyone feel about men, like they were the enemy. Another employee, Patricia, speaks up. My husband asked me about working here once. Asked if there were any openings for someone with his background in analytics. I told him not to bother applying because I knew you'd reject him. I was embarrassed. I'm still embarrassed. The room is turning. Can feel the shift. I gave you all opportunities. You did, Jessica acknowledges, and we're grateful, but you also built this company on discrimination, Rebecca, and now we're all going to pay the price for your ideology. She stands up. I got a call from a recruiter this morning. She wanted to know if I was looking for new opportunities. Given the instability at this company, I wasn't the only one who got that call. Look around the room, see several women nodding. You're abandoning ship? We're protecting ourselves, Maria says bluntly. You put your principles ahead of the law, ahead of basic fairness, and now the company is sinking. We have families, mortgages, student loans. We can't go down with you. Over the next week, 7 of my 15 employees quit. The rest are clearly looking for other options. Martin calls with updates that get progressively worse. The lawsuits have expanded, more rejected applicants joining. The EEOC has opened a formal investigation. Media coverage is intensifying and not in my favor. Sit in my half-empty office looking at financial statements. Legal fees are already at $200,000 and climbing. Projected damages are now at $5 million across all suits. My lawyer recommends settling, but the settlement amounts are still more than I can pay. Bankruptcy lawyer consultations fill my calendar. Get an email from the business magazine that profiled me 2 years ago. They want to do a follow-up story. The fall of a feminist business icon. Delete it without responding. Daniel calls my office directly. Emma patches him through before I can say no. Rebecca, the plaintiff attorneys want to move forward with a trial, but I wanted to call you personally first. His voice is calmer than at the coffee shop, but still edged with something hard. I want you to settle this. I want you to admit what you did was wrong, publicly. I can't afford the settlement amounts. Then admit it was wrong. Issue a real apology. Acknowledge that you discriminated illegally and that it was unethical. Do that publicly, and I'll advocate for lower damages. Feel pride warring with desperation. If I do that, I'm admitting liability. Martin says, you are liable, Rebecca. You broke the law. You discriminated. The only question now is whether you're going to take responsibility or keep hiding behind rhetoric. Silence stretches between us. I thought I was doing the right thing, I say quietly. That's what makes it worse, he responds. You're educated. You're smart. You had to know discrimination was illegal, but you did it anyway because you thought your reasons were noble. That's not ignorance. That's arrogance. He's right, and I know it. Feel it in my bones. If I apologize, if I admit I was wrong, everything I built was based on that principle. It all becomes meaningless. It was already meaningless, Rebecca. You can't build something meaningful on discrimination, no matter how you justify it. Hang up. Sit in the growing darkness of my office. Think about the last 5 years, everything I worked for. Remember the pride I felt every time I rejected a male applicant, every time I hired another woman. Remember thinking I was striking a blow against patriarchy, against systemic inequality. Remember feeling righteous and powerful. Now see it differently, through their eyes. Tucker, 15 years of experience, rejected without consideration. Daniel, struggling to support his family, turned away without a chance. Keith, drowning in anxiety and debt, excluded for his gender. Dozens more, all of them real people with real lives, real consequences. Feel shame washing over me, finally, truly. Call Martin, tell him I want to settle. Whatever they want, whatever I have to do. I'll admit what I did, I'll apologize. He's silent for a moment. Are you sure? Once you admit liability publicly, there's no walking it back. I'm sure. Over the next month, negotiations happen. Agree to a settlement that will bankrupt the company and leave me personally in debt for years. Agree to a public statement admitting I discriminated illegally. Agree to never own or operate a business in this state again. The day I sign the settlement, stand outside the lawyer's office. Tucker, Daniel, and Keith are there with their attorneys. We don't speak, just acknowledge each other with nods. They look relieved, vindicated. I just feel empty. The company closes 6 weeks later. Help my remaining employees find new positions, write references, make calls. Several of them won't speak to me. Jessica does. One last conversation in the empty office. I learned a lot working here, Rebecca. You taught me to be confident, to value my skills, to demand respect. Pause. But you also taught me what not to do, how ideology can blind you to your own wrongs, how good intentions don't excuse bad actions. She hugs me briefly, then leaves. Sit alone in the empty office space, everything packed up or sold. Think about the statement I'm releasing tomorrow, admitting my discrimination. Think about the business magazine article that will run next week. Think about starting over, if that's even possible. Mostly, think about those 3 men in the coffee shop. Their anger was justified. Their pain was real. Their lawsuit was right. I discriminated, illegally and unethically. Told myself I was fighting inequality while practicing it. Convinced myself that discrimination was acceptable when I was doing it. Became the thing I claimed to oppose. Stand up, take one last look. Around the empty office. Turn off the lights. Walk out the door. Everything I built, gone. Brought down not by men trying to oppress me, but by my own arrogance, my own discrimination, my own failure to see that equality can't be built on exclusion. The story I told myself was that I was a hero fighting the good fight. The truth is, I was just someone who broke the law and hurt people, and called it justice. Drive home through the city, seeing my reflection in the dark window. Barely recognize the person looking back. Tomorrow, the public statement releases. Tomorrow, everyone will know exactly what I did. Tomorrow, I start living with the consequences. But tonight, sitting in my apartment surrounded by boxes, finally understand. Understand what Tucker meant about becoming what you hate. Understand what Daniel meant about setting back real progress. Understand what Keith meant about discrimination being wrong, no matter who practices it. Understand, finally, too late. My phone buzzes with an email from my bankruptcy attorney. More paperwork to sign. More of the life I built being dismantled. All of it deserved. All of it consequences of my own choices. Sit in the darkness and let that truth settle over me. I thought I was proving women were better than men. Instead, I proved that anyone, regardless of gender, can discriminate. Anyone can rationalize cruelty. Anyone can become the villain in someone else's story. Close my eyes and think about those 73 applications. 73 people I never gave a chance. 73 times I chose ideology over ethics. 73 small acts of discrimination that added up to something indefensible. The feminist principles I thought I was upholding. Equality, fairness, justice. I violated all of them, in the name of vindicating them. That's the real failure, not the lawsuits or the bankruptcy or the public humiliation, but the betrayal of the values I claim to champion. Stand up, walk to my window, look out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Tucker is going home to his daughter. Daniel is supporting his wife. Keith is rebuilding his life. They won because they were right, not because they were men, because discrimination is wrong. Always. And I was wrong. Always. The story I wanted to write was about building a successful all-female company. The story I actually wrote was about the consequences of illegal discrimination, about ideology blinding someone to basic ethics, about good intentions paving a road to real harm, about learning too late that equality isn't about excluding others. It's about including everyone. Sit back down in the darkness. Tomorrow, everything changes. Tonight I sit with what I've done, and finally understand the weight of it.